Oh, poor Jesus. Wherever he goes, he's popular. He cannot seem to get away from the crowds. And the crowds even followed him down by the lake. He was trying to find a place to rest. And the disciples said, how about, here's our boat. Let's take our boat. We'll go to the other side, another shore somewhere. So they went around the bend to the other shore. And here, look what's coming. Here comes the crowd. They're running and they're walking around the lake to get to Jesus. And it almost seemed useless to try to get away from them. And it turned out to be there was about 5,000 people, all wanting, my nose itches, all wanting healing and to hear his words, because his words were so different than those of the stinking Pharisees. And they just were so enthralled with Jesus. So finally he went up kind of like on a hill, and he said, have the crowds sit down on the hill and I'll talk to them. And so they did. But there was 5,000 men, it says. But the scripture also says that's just the men. They had their wives and their children with them too. So it was more than 5,000 people. And he was talking to them about God and who the Lord is and the wonderful things from God. And time was going on, and people weren't going home. They were listening to every word he had to say. And even Jesus himself was getting hungry. He thought, he didn't think it, but a lot of people thought, the disciples, don't these people ever eat anything or go home? But no, they weren't. They were so enthralled. Finally, there was a little boy in the crowd, and he's one who remembered to bring his lunch. The others didn't think they would be that long, and they didn't bring anything to eat. This one little boy, he had a basket, and he had 5, it says, little loaves of bread. Maybe they were like biscuits or something that his mom made for him, and 2 fish. And he kind of saw the wonderment on Jesus talking with the disciples. So he went up to Jesus and he offered his lunch to Jesus and said, here, would you like something to eat? I got 5 little biscuits here and some fish. I bet you're hungry. And Jesus thanked the boy heartily, and he said, son, can I have your basket, please? And he said, sure, take my basket. And Jesus looked at the food in the basket, and the disciples, I can't remember which one it said, probably Peter, he spoke up and said, Lord, there's not enough here to feed all these people. Yeah, you've got that little basket, but there's over 5,000 people out here that are hungry. And Jesus said, let's not send them home hungry. And he says, how are you going to do that? And it says that Jesus thanked the little boy for the basket, and he took the basket, and he says he started to break up the loaves and put them into other baskets that people had brought up around him toward the top of the hill. And he was putting little pieces, and he kept filling the baskets, and the disciples kept filling the baskets. And the baskets got so full and overflowing, and refills were needed, and the food kept propagating, more and more food. And there's, like I said, 5,000 people with kids and wives to boot. But the disciples, before that, I forgot to tell you, before he multiplied the food, one of his disciples said, Lord, this is going to be impossible. He said, if we had 200 pennyworth, we wouldn't have enough. And I looked that up. How much was that money in those days? And it's equivalent in those days to $14,500. So we said, Lord, if we had $14,500, we couldn't feed these people. And then the Lord multiplied it and gave it to all the people, and they were satisfied. And there's another miracle Jesus did besides all the healing of the blind people, the sick people, the people that couldn't hear, the people who couldn't walk. And he was just like top banana to these people. And also they were looking for a new kingdom that Jesus was preaching, because they hated Rome. They wanted their own country and their own king. And they thought, this is the guy. This is it. This is what we want right here. And they just couldn't leave Jesus alone, besides promising all this and then bringing healing. Wow. So I'm going to leave it off there today. They all got fed and they went home satisfied. See you next time. Bye-bye.